can be only one podcast, and may it be the Princess of the Universe. Hi, folks, I'm Matt, and I'm still not finished with the first book in the Silo series. I'm sorry. I'm super busy at work, super busy at home, and it's not going to get any easier. I was told that I'm going to be drugged back in to theater duties. I don't want to, but it's the missus asking, so I guess I must. I really don't want to do it because it's going to just eat away at my time. So, with all that going on, I have still not finished it. I don't, to my credit though, I don't think Steven and Bruce have finished it either because they have not given me the, when are we doing the podcast? I finished it when we're doing it. So, yeah, we do want to do the Silo series. I know I advertised that on my monthly update, and who knows, by the end of January, we'll probably get to book 1. But it's just taking a little bit longer than what we thought. So, in the meantime, here comes delay episode number 2. I had one always in the can I told you about that I always wanted to do, just never had the time to get around it, so I'm glad I finally did. This one is another one that I had, and I was shocked that we had not done before. I could have sworn we'd done it, and then I looked over my recent podcast and realized we didn't do it. And I was like, oh my goodness. We never talked about the Walking Dead comic book and book series. I've read the entire comic book series and the entire book series that ties in with the comic books. And to date, I think I'm the only person in the world who's done that because I can't find a single other person who's either read the books or read the comic book. Even Bruce didn't read the whole comic book in its entirety because I was going to get him on here to talk about the comic book with me, and then I was going to tell him about the books. But I after searching for a few people, I saw one person told me, say, hey, yeah, I'm not going to finish it until the TV show is over because I don't want any spoilers if it follows a comic book. And so I thought about that, and he's probably right. The review should probably wait till after the Walking Dead TV show, at least the primary show wraps up. I don't know when that will be. I don't know if next season's the last season. I don't know, to be honest. I'm really not a fan of the TV series anymore. It's a drag and a waste of my time to watch. Ever since that We Are Negan season where they tease Negan the whole series long, you get to see him for 3 seconds. It's a joke. I stopped caring after then. I mean, every once in a while there's been some good episodes here and there, but I don't get excited about watching The Walking Dead anymore. The comic book I absolutely love. I'm not so keen on the ending. And the books, like I said, I'll just get to all this later. But they were right. I shouldn't do one on Walking Dead. So from then, the next thing I thought about doing was like, hey, I'll just invite Bruce over. We'll do a Firefly podcast. It's been a while since we talked about Firefly. We talked about the TV show and the movie. I've mentioned the comic books and the books before, but I did want to do a big review on those. I said, well, I'll just do an episode on the expanded universe of Firefly. A lot of people have been asking me about that too, and I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And then I realized I don't really have that much to say about Firefly. I really don't. The comic books suck. For the most part. There's one good comic book. I can't remember what it's called, but it takes place after Serenity, after the movie, and that one's pretty good. Other than that, all the little mini adventures with the cast and crew, the pages of book, which I was super excited to hear about. That came out around the time of the movie, if I recall. And I wanted to hear more about book. And of course, it was not very good. And I was still collecting Firefly comic books. I was still collecting and reading them. And they would just be garbage after garbage after garbage. And then I got the, what was it called? Sapphire's One Shot. I paid $6 for that. I mean, that was cover price or whatever. And the comic book was garbage. It was garbage. I went, man, I paid $6 for a garbage comic book. And I said, you know what? I'm done. So I don't even, and yeah, I have some of the comic books. I've given some of them away now. So I don't have that many of the Firefly comic books. I don't care if I give them all away at this point because I really, really think the comic books suck. They stink. The stories are awful. I do collect the books, and the books are really interesting. Right now, there's only 4 books. That's why I can't do a whole podcast after 4 books. But before I get to my main topic, I may as well tell you about the books. James, I think his name is Lovegrove or Hargrove. He writes the first 3 books, and they're pretty solid, especially the first 2. The first 2 feel straight out of an episode. It feels just great. His third book, which was Generations, kind of missed the mark a little bit for me because it followed a pattern and stayed on the same pattern over and over and over again. For instance, there is a dream machine in this one, and in the dream machine, when they go to sleep, it gives you the most pleasant dreams in the world, and then they eventually turn them into nightmares. It's supposed to break down people and make them subservient or something. I don't really understand that. But Jane accidentally breaks it or turns it on. He doesn't know he did that. And the crew doesn't even know it's on board. Mal told him to leave it off the ship because he doesn't want it. He's like, no, we're not going to. This is not worth all the trouble. And while it's on the ship, they all start dozing off. And, of course, they start having these wonderful dreams. And then they eventually have things go wrong. Then it turns to a nightmare. Well, the thing is, everything is beat for beat, meaning, okay, Mal, he's walking around the ship. Then it's, Wash. Then it's, Pick. It's someone else. Kaylee's on the ship. And then it just goes through each member. And then you rinse and repeat. Now it's Mal, and he starts to have a dream. And he goes, whoa, was that a dream? Or did I just nod off just then? Then you go to Wash. He has the same thing happen to him. And then you go to, the Kaylee, the same thing happens to her. I mean, they just go through the same, and then they all start having dreams. Then they all start being great dreams. Then something goes wrong in all their dreams. I mean, beat for beat. You go back to Mal's dream, something's going wrong. Then you go to Wash's dream, something's going wrong. Then you go. It's like the Three Little Bears. Oh, someone slept in my bed. Someone slept in my bed. And it's kind of repetitive. Like I said, it hits that pace. And the only thing is, I want to call her Summer. River, the actress is called Summer. River wakes up in between. I think she doesn't get fooled by her dream very much. And so after you go through all the castmates' dreams, then you have a little something about Summer. Summer, I did it again. River, trying to resolve the issue. Okay? River, trying to resolve the issue. River, trying to help out. And it's weird because Hargrove's other two novels are solid. I mean, really great stuff. Really, it's what convinced me to stop getting the comic books, really. When I read his first novel, I was like, oh, that was good. And then his second novel, I was like, oh, this is even better. I said, I don't even need the comic books anymore. This is how you write Firefly. And his third one, I forgave it, but it just got into that plotting. Okay, I know what's going to happen. Yes, I know. Oh my gosh, you don't tell me Kaylee's going to have a nightmare now. Yeah, how'd I know that? Because it happened the first 3 times already in the other characters on the ship. So, no, that wasn't him. I think that was the last one. The last book in the series was Tim Lebbin's Generations, which Tim Lebbin did Dawn of the Jedi, a book that I absolutely despise. And I didn't know, maybe was it the story or was it the author? It's definitely the author. Because reading at Tim Lebbin's, and I was really excited to read Tim Lebbin's Generations, but it's called Generations. It's a Firefly novel. Because I was like, oh, shut up. I haven't read something since Dawn of the Jedi. I hated it. So now, does he write differently? No, he still writes in that awful prose. It's awful. And he does a terrible job, too, because he doesn't want... Story-wise, he's very, in my opinion, he's a lazy writer. He didn't want to deal with Inara or Book, so he puts them on a mission to go sell some old books. At the very beginning, first chapter, this happens. They take off. They're never seen again. The adventure happens without them. Just because he went, I want to do this adventure, but I don't want to write Inara and I don't want to write Book. So how do I do? I'll just write them off. Like, Inara's going to go visit a client, and she has some old antique books, and Book knows about antique books, so he'll go with her. Really, that's it. Okay, bye-bye, and then they take off. It's like when the, I don't know if you ever watched the Dukes of Hazzard, but when they had the Duke cousins in there for one season because obviously the original Dukes were having contract issues. Well, the episode where the real Dukes come back is awful because the cousins start the series and then here come the real Dukes. They go, oh, you're here? Okay, see y'all later, and then they take off. Well, we got to go. Good to see you came back. And that's it. They just do a quick transfer, and then they're out of the story forever. And I was like, that's kind of lame. The cousins weren't the best thing about Dukes of Hazzard, but they were something different. And obviously they were knockoffs of the original too, but I wish they would have given a little bit more fanfare than that. And by the way, not that you're big Dukes of Hazzard fans here, but I think Dukes of Hazzard fans have even forgiven the cousins for taking in. They were just doing the job they were hired to do, but they were just excused so quickly. And that's what, Book and Inara being excused so quickly reminded me of. It reminded me of that. So, but Tim Levin does an awful job. His story is not interesting. They're going to find a generation ship, which means it's one of the last ships that left Earth. And Jane is beyond stupid in this. Like, he's really dumb, like dumb as a brick. Like, they're supposed to be collecting valuable artifacts. Well, what does he get? A shoe. But it's a good shoe. Where's the other half of the shoe? Oh, I don't know. Thought I got it. And all he gets is trash and garbage. Like, the whole time, the ship explodes. And they're saying, well, he's got a bag of goodies, right? Nope. He's got nothing. He had a book called Something for Dummies or something. I don't know. It was just, they make Jane, I know Jane isn't the smartest tool in the shed, but he's not that stupid. Tim Levin, the characters don't feel like themselves. He put Kaylee and Jane together for no reason other than he just thought that was nice, because nothing, I don't know. Just, he didn't seem to, he maybe watched maybe 1 or 2 episodes of Firefly and went, okay, I got it. And then just went from there. It was really sloppy. Generations, I do not like. Of course, I got it just to see, but get the James Hargrove ones. Those are fine. All right, so I guess I did a little Firefly review after all. Man, is this one going to be on Firefly now? No, it's not. It's going to be back on the Expanded Universe. You're like, oh, good. Why aren't we talking about the Expanded Universe this whole time? I know when I first brought out this podcast, you thought it was going to be nothing but Expanded Universe. And yeah, the first, couple of episodes, I'm sure they were. We talked a lot about the Expanded Universe, but then we moved on. Now, from the very beginning of this podcast, I always knew we weren't going to be talking just about the Expanded Universe. I want to talk about all sorts of things on this podcast, which is why we never gave it a Star Wars name. We never gave a Star Wars name because we didn't want it to be just only about Star Wars. We want to talk about several other topics. I know several other well-intentioned podcasts that have just kind of stopped because they named themselves after Star Wars, but they didn't want to go talk about the new stuff, and so now they just don't do anything. They said what they had to say, and then they're bored. So I opened it up. I told Bruce, whatever we name it, let's not name it after any Star Wars era. Let's name it after something else. Well, we love the Highlander franchise, so again, that's where Prince of the Universe came from. But that's because we want to talk about other things. Now, usually, my topics about the Expanded Universe, they now go to Matt Chats on the expandeduniverse.com site, or they go on my monthly videos, A More Civilized Age, where I tackle different topics. The reason I wanted to talk about the EU on this podcast is because I don't think it would, no offense, but I don't think any of my panelists would, I'd want to discuss it with them. I don't know if they'd have anything to add. They could. Their perspectives are always very insightful. But this is something I just wanted to talk about. I hear a lot of people complaining about the new, by the way, Titan Publishing, if you don't know, is bringing out all of the Star Wars Insider short stories. That's awesome. That's great. I'm happy to see that. But people complained a lot when Book 2 came out saying, oh, it has new canon in there. Okay, like I said before, I think I did answer this in a Q&A, and I think this may have been my last Q&A that kind of got me on this subject, but buy it anyway and just don't read those parts. My brother writes he wrote a book of short stories, and I read them all except for everything in first person. And I told him from here on out I'm not reading any of his stories that are first person. I just hate the way that's written. And he knows that. So when I get another big, group of short stories from him, I'll skip over the ones I don't want. And you can too. Anything that's canon, just skip over it. Mark it in your book. Mark a big X through it. I don't care. But you don't have to read it. Now, for people complaining that they're putting canon stories under the Legends banner, well, I don't know if anger should be the feeling we should have here. Because for me, it was curiosity and it was intrigue. Because this kind of opens up something that I talked about this in a Matt chat, last year, I can't remember when Matt Martin, someone from the story group, just kind of threw up his hands at the fans because he was getting pissed at the fans about continuity in the new canon because it's not there. He said, guys, canon is whatever you want it to be. Whatever you want. You want to be Legends? That's canon then. Okay. Now, you know me. You know me. I have always followed what Lucasfilm defines as canon. When they said the expanded universe is now in the Legends universe, then I said, okay, it's not canon anymore. I'm fine with that. Still my story. Matt Martin, I don't think he said it officially through Lucasfilm, but if Lucasfilm was to release that statement, canon is whatever you want, then yes, there's a second canon, there's a dual canon, so to speak, and the expanded universe is canon with the new canon, okay? But this is just Matt Martin just mouthing off at fans on Twitter or something. So you take that with a grain of salt, right? But at the same time, when he said that, I said, okay, for someone in his authority from the story group, from Lucasfilm, to say something like that, that's intriguing. I don't think Lucasfilm cares about continuity anymore. I don't think they do. I think they just want to sell books, sell comic books, sell merchandise, sell the movies, sell the TV shows. If they connect, great. If they can't, who cares? I think that's their feeling now. I just had that feeling. The way the new canon's being run, from what I hear about it, from the very get-go, Nathan Butler was talking about how things aren't matching up timeline-wise, and he was getting really frustrated with it, and that was from the very beginning. And it has now more contradictions than the old expanded universe did. And again, I'm not trying to be hard on them and saying shame on them for not putting everything in continuity. I just don't think they care. That's just who they are. They're like, I don't care if it doesn't make sense. And that's definitely what Matt Martin was telling people when he mouthed off on them at Twitter. Well, for me, I thought, that's interesting. So is he saying it's okay for us to say, okay, well then these books is the official canon then? If we can interpret anything as canon, this is the official canon, and the movies that Matt Martin loves so much and bows to aren't canon for us. Maybe so. Maybe so. I know what he was saying. He was just saying it to deal with his frustration dealing with fans, which you really shouldn't talk to if he gets frustrated with them as much. But a second thing where I see the lines blurring from what is canon. If you don't recall, I did a video, one very popular video I did long ago. I got some building blocks with the letters on them, and I did a what is canon in the old expanded universe and now the new. And I showed how, according to responses from Jennifer Heddle and other people at Lucasfilm, canon right out the gate seemed wish-washy, meaning the actual novels from the movies were not completely canon. They weren't even canon because they had some EU in it. So like quasi-canon, I made that joke. But the thing is, though, the lines have gotten even more blurred now that Titan Publishing is coming out with their second novel of a collection of Star Wars insider short fiction. Because they labeled it Legends, even though it has, quote-unquote, new canon stories within it, both from the new and the old. Now, here's a few things we can look at. Maybe they have to put Legends on it because it does bear some Legends as stories, and maybe that's something that the publishing company or Lucasfilm said you have to do that. But when you do that and you add new stories to it, you really remember they were talking about they didn't want these new stories to confuse fans from the old and the new. Well, obviously that's not the case. Titan Publishing is bringing out a book that contains both new and old stories, and they're calling it Legends. So does that mean the new canon has already been put in the dumpster, or at least the Star Wars Insider shorts have been put in the dumpster? I don't know. Are we reading too much into the label of Legends? Yeah, that's definitely a possibility there. I will admit to that. But when I saw that, I wasn't angry at all. Maybe slightly disappointed only because those older issues with that EU fiction, I know a lot of people want it, and I wish they would get that out first. If they were to do this like in chronological order, like an issue order, and put all the short stories out like that, I think that'd be great. But that was the only reason I would be upset by it, because there could have been more room for old EU stories and people who are collecting it. Still, though, anger is the farthest thing from my mind when I think about this second book coming out from Titan Publishing. Because what I think about is like, okay, so it looks like Lucasfilm is okay mixing the canons here. Now, I know one of my buddies, if he hears this podcast, Joe Bongiorno from StarWarsTimeline.net, is doing backflips of delight right now to hear me say that. Because he has all been for mixing a canon. In fact, he is very sure, or he's very positive, I should say, that Mandalorian is going to rewrite canon in some way, shape, fashion, and form to also include Legends. And because he wants everything to play together nicely. And yes, you can have alternate universes and dimensions in the expanded universe. I've talked about this in my reviews. Joe uses that as reason to say, yes, these two universes can exist together. Again, I'm just happy with a separate storyline on my own. That is all I want. But are we seeing cracks in here does Matt Martin's actions and his words reflect those of Lucasfilm? Are they just tired of fans talking about continuity and what's canon? Just say, look, just take a story, just read a story. Because if so, would they be more open to bringing out more Legends? I'd really be interested in that. Now, the last I heard from the insiders at Del Rey and Marvel, the answer is no, and that was like 2 years ago. A hard no. They only want new canon stories to promote their new stories, or their story. They don't want that old storyline back. Okay, well, times change. And you have Titan Publishing coming out with, a collection of Legends short stories, complete Legends short stories, and then one of half and half. So you've loosened up the reins there a little bit. Of course, Del Rey was allowed to reprint all the old books and stuff. That's nothing new there. Marvel's able to reprint a lot of the other old comic books. They're not opposed to reprints, but new stories within them, those are few and far between. Now, I for one think, of course, I'm a positive guy here, but I think they would be eventually susceptible to saying, okay, we'll allow more Legends then, because why not? If canon truly doesn't matter to Lucasfilm, if continuity, which as far as I'm concerned, continuity is thrown out the window for these people. They do not care. They just want to make a story that'll make money. And hey, you know what? I have to quote, Martin Gecko from Wall Street. Greed is good for us, folks. For us EU fans, greed is good. We want them to chase after that dollar bill because we want to show them you can make dollar bills if you give us these type of stories. And who knows, eventually someone's going to wake up and explore that avenue. I think in a way, Jon Favreau is already exploring that avenue with Mandalorian. No, I don't watch the show, but everyone says he's paying fan service to the EU fans. Yeah, Jon Favreau's not a stupid person. He knows what's going on. And so he knows, hey, I need to loop in these EU fans. And he does it by the best, any way he can. But I don't know if Jon Favreau completely understands that EU fans don't want characters from their old storyline ripped into the new canon. We want our own story to be continued. Everyone says, oh, Matt, wouldn't you love to see a story, a TV series or a movie set in the Legends universe? Yeah, that'd be great. I also think it's never going to happen. To make me happy, short stories. I'd be happy with just short stories, just something to feed my, Legends, my EU fix there, my obsession with reading more about this universe. I'd love to see even that. My highest expectation would be new novels coming out. That'd be the highest expectation I would have. And if that's all I ever got, I'd love it. Or if we were to just get a comic book series, I'd be fine with that too. Anything, because for me, folks, Star Wars, I've said this a billion times, Star Wars is the expanded universe for me. That's what I fell in love with. That's what I love. Star Wars, the movies? No, I haven't watched these movies since, I haven't watched the trilogy as a whole since way before the takeover from Disney. I'm not someone who has to watch them on Star Wars Day or every year or something. I don't. It's true, I almost watched the holiday special last year, but decided to give it a pass because it really sucks. But other than that, though, it's not that I hate those films. Those films are fine, but that's not what makes me a Star Wars fan. What makes me a Star Wars fan is this story, is the story that the expanded universe created. You'll see in my ongoing reviews throughout this year, yes, I'll still be doing reviews, at least for the first couple of months here from the expanded universe, that the connections get greater and greater. At least for me, they become, in a way, more random. They go after connections to little unknown things. Like the holiday special, there's a story that kind of links a character from the holiday special, puts in their book. I thought that was really cool. And that's the reason I love the expanded universe, is because of that continuity. I think it's fantastic. I think it's phenomenal. So for me, those are the type of things that, make me a Star Wars fan. Not, oh, you're going to bring Thrawn back and Mandalorian or whatever. I don't know what all they've done, but that stuff doesn't impress me. Now, at the same time, I'm super happy people like Mandalorian. That doesn't bother me. Oh, are you mad, Matt, that they like new canon? New canon stuff is new canon. Yeah, I don't care. I mean, you can enjoy Star Wars. I've never cared about that. I've never wanted the movies to bomb. When I said that the first movie would make over $1 billion, and then the second would make less, and the third one would make less, everyone goes, "Oh, Matt, you're a prophet. You prophesied it." No, I already knew people were going to get bored of it, and because you look at the box office receipts for the original trilogy was a little bit different, but I just knew that in today's world they're just not going to make it. The first one's going to be big because Star Wars is back, and then after that, everyone's going to move on to other things, which a lot of people have. I've told you, even the youth of today, when Star Wars movie was out, that's all you ever talked about. Man, I talked to some kids it was a few years back, I think when Solo came out or Rogue One, I can't remember when it was. I said, "Hey, did y'all see the new movie?" They said, "Yeah, it was episode 9, right?" And I went, "Episode 9's not out yet." And they went, "Oh, which one did we watch?" And they said, "Oh, Solo. Oh, was that episode 8? They didn't know where it fit in the continuity because they really didn't remember it that well. And it had come out that year, I remember. I was thinking, oh, wow. So you can't hold the youth's attention like you could back, unless you're a video game, right? Unless you're something really awesome. It's hard, and it's hard to hold the populace's attention for that long now with all the accesses to different entertainment we have. But with the expanded universe, you have a hardcore fan base that will gobble down and to consume anything. In addition to all the other hobbies and other things we have, binge watching shows and whatnot. I'll be honest with you, I love playing me some board games. But if you said, "Matt, I got a new Legends novel," or you can play this board game, I'm going to go with the new Legends novel. I'm going to sit down and have a quiet night of reading every time. I would love to do that. In fact, it's funny, not collecting the EU has caused me to spend money on board games instead of the EU. All that money I was spending buying, hunting down different pieces of the expanded universe. Well, now I put that energy into board games now, which is why I'm a big board game fan. Which, to be honest, I don't think I would have been this big into board games if it hadn't have been for the EU going away. Because a lot of my money would have been tied up buying all those comic books, buying the next novel, children's books, stuff like the yada, yada, yada. The magazine subscription to make sure I don't miss any of the short stories. All of that type of stuff was the stuff I wanted to see. So if Disney gets desperate for the money and they want to start making money, then hopefully that's good for us because, hey, Legends is right there. Print some more Legend stories. I know for a fact, Marvel wants to do more Legends. Why? How do I know that? They told me. I know Del Rey wants to do that too. They'd love to make new Legend stuff. Okay? They're just not allowed to right now. But over time, who's to say what could happen? I mean, like I said, so when I see Titan Publishing putting out a novel with Legends that has new canon in there, it shows me that those walls are cracking a little bit. There's a small hairline fracture in the wall between Lucasfilm and EU fans, but it's there. It's forming. It's not just an offhanded comment by a disgruntled Lucasfilm story group employee. It's also being shown in their publishing as well. And that, to me, folks, that doesn't fill me with anger that they've sullied my old EU stories with new canon stories. It fills me with hope that those walls are breaking down and that they understand that, hey, maybe it's okay to bring out new Legend stories too. Because Star Wars is for everyone. It should be enjoyed by everyone. If they like the new canon or the old canon, doesn't matter. So that's it. That's what I feel when I look at that book. Hope. And I hope if you haven't felt that way before, think about it now. It's a great opening for all of us. All right, so that's it. That's all I wanted to say. That's way too long for a Matt chat, as you know. My Matt chats are usually 2 to 3 minutes long. That's why I want to talk about it in this podcast. So next time, I'm going to guarantee it because I'm going to finish that book. We'll talk about the Silo series with Bruce and my good friend and old roommate, Steven. Next time on Princes of the Universe.